Lucas!
If anyone can figure out Henry Gowan, he is a better man than I.
Oh, he's not so hard to understand.
I said better man.
First off, Elizabeth looked like really happy walking toward Lucas, and I truly believe that Lucas was happy to see her too.
Then again, I used to be able to read people, but I am having a hard time figuring you out too.
I'm not so hard to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Try me.
All right. Would you care to join me for dinner tomorrow night? Let's celebrate the end of the school year.
I think Lucas really wanted to know more from Elizabeth's point of view, like, where do you stand in our relationship? Are we going on a date? I mean, are we moving on to the next level? At the same time, Elizabeth wanted Lucas to have the confidence and that drive to chase after her and to be the one to ask her out. At the same time, Lucas is so nervous in a good way, and he's just like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna wing it and I'm gonna ask her out right now. And the way he asked her out, like, from what I see, is like he wants to be safe. Like, he doesn't want to get hurt or get disappointed. So he's like, well, you're here to join me for dinner to celebrate the end of the school year. So it's basically like he's not putting any pressure on asking her out, like the way he asked her out, like he's not putting any pressure on that question. And I think he's trying to be smooth with her, like try to like not like shock her or anything, because she was already married, and opening your heart to someone new after your husband or your wife died is a big thing, and going on an actual date with someone new is a huge thing for Elizabeth to do. He doesn't put pressure on it.
I'd be delighted.
Delighted? Delighted how?
To join you on a date.
Would this be an actual date?
An actual date.
The way she answered, I would be delighted. I think that's a great answer to a guy. I think that's a great sign for Lucas. And Lucas questioned like how? Like, what do you mean you delighted? Like, I like that answer, but you know, like, I think Lucas trying to understand what Elizabeth wants in this dinner. Like, does she want it as just friends, or as like this is it? This is the beginning of a relationship. Like, this is the first date. So Elizabeth said on an actual date, and it reminded me of like the past time, that dinner at the library and that dinner at in Unicity. So Lucas just like trying to understand what kind of dinner this is. Like, is this like an actual date? And Elizabeth confirmed it.
How hard was that?
Lucas looked to Elizabeth after Nathan left, and I think it was just a reassuring moment, like to make sure that Elizabeth is not changing her mind, or that she's not like feel sorry for Nathan in a way. Like, Lucas was like making sure that Elizabeth is still green light on the dinner date, and that she's not going back and reversing her decision. And I think Lucas knows that Elizabeth is struggling too, because Nathan is still her friend, and Lucas respects that. But at the same time, Lucas have his guard up too. He's like, okay, we're going on a date, but there's another issue that is interfering with what we want with each other, and that's Nathan. So it's a tricky balance that these three characters have to go through and sort it out. Elizabeth don't want Nathan as a friend, but at the same time, she is falling for Lucas. So she needs to have that good balance. And Lucas, on the other hand, he respects Nathan as Elizabeth's friend, but at the same time, he's like, I should be protecting my heart too, and making sure that I will be prepared of whatever might happen, whatever curveball might be thrown at me, whether it's from Nathan or from Elizabeth or any outside forces. And Nathan, he needs to figure out that balance of respecting Elizabeth as a friend and her relationship with Lucas, and just accept it and move on.
The vichyssoise to start. Grilled salmon as the main. Perhaps you could suggest a dessert?
I'll give it some thought.
Gustav, this dinner with Miss Thornton is very important to me.
Lucas is taking this first date with Elizabeth very seriously. I think I just want to point that out.
Did you ever picture yourself
Living in a small town, owning a saloon, and a struggling oil business? Never.
But you learned to accept it.
I don't accept things easily. I would say I'm more the master of my own destiny type. But I do like it here.
Lucas wished that he had controlled everything that happened in his life, but he learned that he cannot control everything, and that life throws unexpected surprises, whether it's good or bad. And I think he's starting to learn to appreciate Hope Valley, and that he eventually accepted Hope Valley as his home. The big reason is Elizabeth, but Hope Valley is a great community. Everyone is so loving and supportive, and he found his home in Hope Valley. And I think he learned to accept that, and that he learned that life can be good too. Even though bad things happen in life, like Lucas appreciate the good things in life. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I was just surprised to hear that from Lucas, because like you never really know what's going on in his head, you know what I mean? Like the way he thinks and the way he views life, you know? Like we know him like externally, you know what I mean? And this scene is just like something internally inside of him. And it's really fascinating and interesting on how he views life and his wisdom on life and his opinion and belief. And yeah, it's really interesting and great to hear that from Lucas.
Altering the dress for your very first date with Lucas? It's a pretty good start.
Just want to show you that, because since we got a glimpse of how Lucas is feeling about the date, we get to see Elizabeth's perspective, and it's so exciting. I mean, she looked very happy, very excited. She looked forward to the date, and that dress is beautiful. Yeah, I remember about like the first time this episode came out, and some haters like complained about her dress showed too much hand. Anyway, that's another story. But overall, I thought it was a very beautiful dress. And let's be honest, like in Hollywood, there are far worse dresses that reveal much more than what Elizabeth is showing with this dress in this scene. Let's be honest.
Good evening.
I got your note. Here I am. What's the matter?
Please come in.
Nathan shows up at her door at nighttime, and she literally had to send a note to Nathan to catch his attention. And I'm just like, okay, there's something going on. She seemed a bit surprised, but at the same time, you can tell that she was still annoyed at the fact that Nathan did not show up at school earlier. And she politely said, good evening. And then Nathan just like, I got your note, like, you know, what's up? And Elizabeth just like, okay, like, no greeting, no how are you or anything. No mention about how you never showed up at school, no apology. Okay, let's move on.
You didn't attend our parent-teacher conference today, and I was just wondering where you were.
Allie and I went fishing.
Oh. I'd sort of hoped that you'd have a good reason for missing it.
Elizabeth mentioned about Nathan not showing up to school for the parent-teacher meeting, and he admitted that he went fishing with Allie, and Elizabeth said, I thought you would have a better reason than that, and it showed that Elizabeth is very disappointed and annoyed that Nathan missed an important meeting over fishing with Allie.
Well, we really haven't spoken since you told me how you felt, so I just thought it was best for both of us.
Regardless of how things are between us, Allie's education...
What do we do? Do I have to make an appointment, or can we talk now?
You're here, so let's talk.
Elizabeth was about to finish her sentence, and I truly believed that she was going to say that Allie's education is much more important than our relationship. And Nathan's attitude came back, his rudeness came back, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. And Nathan was like, do I have to make an appointment? Like, can we talk now? And part of me, I truly believe that Nathan did not want Elizabeth to proceed to the parent-teacher meeting. Like, I really think that he wanted her to say no, like, another time, or cancel it. But Elizabeth stayed home and, wanted to get over with. And Nathan like, oh, great. Nathan's focus is not there. He's just like, I don't want to talk to you, Elizabeth. I just don't want to be near you. And he's just still processing what happened between them. And he just doesn't want to be open-minded to what Elizabeth had to say about Allie.
Allie had another stellar year. She received straight A's, but particularly excels at mathematics.
That's not a big surprise. Yeah, growing up, I would often try to bribe Colleen to do my algebra homework.
It felt really awkward when Nathan was like, started talking about his childhood and how he was as a student. I don't know, it just like, it made the atmosphere in the scene like really awkward. Just like out of the blue, like you start talking about yourself. I don't know if you feel the same thing, but I don't know, I just feel like Nathan made it a little bit more awkward in that moment.
I was hoping we could discuss putting Allie in an accelerated math program.
Yeah, sounds great.
The kinds of things she'd be learning would really stretch Allie. So she would probably need your help with her homework or a tutor.
Well, she's not gonna need a tutor.
That's not what I'm...
Nathan just like, hey, like whatever you say. And I think he's starting to like get a little bit impatient and just want to get out of there. You can see the distance between Elizabeth and Nathan. Like Nathan sat on the couch, right? But he could have picked like the other end of the house that is closer to Elizabeth's chair, but he sat on the other end of the house that's like further away from Elizabeth, and it's closer to the door. So Nathan's focus is just not there. He's just not himself. Let me know what you think. I might be wrong, but this is my guess. So they talk about tutor, right? And Nathan was like, Allie doesn't need that. And I was just like, wait, are you like thinking that Elizabeth can help your niece on her homework? Like Elizabeth can be her tutor? I don't know if I read that right, but that was another awkward moment in this scene.
Allie's concentration suffered. She became distracted in class. And it seems that whatever happened at Fort Clay, it's still weighing on her.
Well, that's all behind me now. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Part of me, I feel like Elizabeth is trying to get more answer about Fort Clay at the same time as she's talking about Allie to Nathan. And Elizabeth's focus and her son, number one right now, is Allie. And Nathan's just like, this is all behind me. And I'm like, this is not about you. This is about your niece. And I'm just like, his focus is just not there. And this conversation is about Allie, not about whatever going on between you and Elizabeth. And he's just not getting that. And Elizabeth is trying to pinpoint that this is about Allie mental health and education and home life, and Nathan like, it's fine, she's fine, like this is like past me, like this is behind, it's in the past, like I'm good, she'll be good. And I'm like, you need to talk to Allie and make sure that she is on a good term with what happened, and make sure that she be able to move on a good note before the next school year.
You are Allie's world. You're the only father she's ever known. And as she grows up, you will always be the measure of the quality she'll look for in a man as she chooses who to marry.
That moment when Elizabeth said, you are her world, it's just like, it started to like stab Nathan in the heart in a good way. And the wisdom that Elizabeth gave to Nathan in that moment is great. I mean, something that Nathan needs to hear. It's like a wake-up call. Like, you need to get serious with your relationship with Allie, and you need to go back to that primary focus of making sure that Allie is being taken care of, like physically, mentally, emotionally.
I'm sorry I didn't go to the conference. It was selfish and hurtful for everyone involved.
She's a great friend to him, and it's just really fascinating how much the atmosphere, the vibe in the scene changed, like from bad to decent, like to good. And Nathan apologized to Elizabeth. I did not expect that, because I was like, he really in a bad mood.
Thank you for this. I'll see you tomorrow at the ceremony.
I'll see you tomorrow.
He doesn't have anyone or any friend that will talk to him like that. Like, he needs someone that will just blast the truth, the honesty to him when he's doing something wrong. And Elizabeth just did that. And Nathan thanked her at the end of the scene. I thought that was a nice touch before he left. And Elizabeth just like, okay, we on a better term in a way. I mean, it could be worse, right? I mean, Nathan could have left like storm out of there and just like be rude even more, but Nathan humbled himself and apologized and appreciated her and thanked her and told her that, you know, he would be there at the ceremony. And yeah, like, he needed to be a great parent to Allie, and he needed to be there for her, and showing up at the ceremony the next day would be a great first step